Tonight on Special Assignment, we bring you a new episode in our ongoing investigations into alleged elite capture of state-owned farms that are turning the fruits of agrarian land reform into a bitter harvest. This is the face of agricultural land reform we shouldn't have to see. Neglected or abandoned farms, operations not running at optimal levels, poor working and living conditions for labourers. This is the opposite of what agricultural land reform should be about.
I think it's very clear that it's failing. It's not resulting in increased levels of production. It's not allowing poor people to access land. It's not addressing poverty and inequality in general. So there's a need for a complete and utter rethink.
This investigation began in October 2015 on Nirvana, a small table grape farm nestled in the fertile Hex River Valley in the Western Cape. It focused on a bitter battle between a farming cooperative called the Big Five, who are beneficiaries of the government's agricultural land reform policies, and a Dutch multinational called the South African Fruit Exporters, or SAFE, and its BEE company, Bono.
The dream was to have a successful farm, a model of black excellence in the valley.
In order to get funding from government to recapitalize your land reform farm, you must have a strategic partner or a mentor. So these are people supposedly with expertise in commercial agriculture.
Although they were appointed as government-approved lessees on Nirvana in July 2013, the Big Five have never received a lease, nor have they received dividends from the harvesting of the farm grapes. The cooperative accuses SAFE and Bono, as well as officials in the Department of Rural Development who oversee state-owned farms, of rampant corruption.
Certain people at a certain political level felt that maybe we were the wrong people who came onto the farm. Maybe they felt that these people cannot be manipulated.
Nirvana, where this investigation first took place, is a very small farm, but it represents a microcosm of a much bigger problem. What we've seen on the ground makes a mockery of everything that land reform should stand for. In our previous episode, Special Assignment exposed the details of a forensic report on Nirvana, a 200-page classified dossier that has not yet been publicly released. The forensic report highlights severe irregularities and non-compliance with the department's policies, and most damning of all, on the allegedly corrupt relationship between the strategic partners SAFE and Bono and the Department of Rural Development. In the wake of the Special Assignment expose, SAFE and Bono have quietly exited the farm, but allegedly owe the beneficiaries several millions in dividends for the grape harvests since 2013.
Up to date, there has been no profits paid to the beneficiaries. We have requested the financial statements in order to determine what the profits on the farm were, while the previous strategic partner was in occupancy of the farm, and we've not received any feedback from the department.
And there remains an impasse between the Big Five and the Department of Rural Development on the way forward, forcing the Big Five to attain legal assistance.
We don't want to be seen as antagonists, towards the government. That's number one. And to us, it's very important. But if we are pushed into a corner where, we can't resolve issues, amicably, then we'll have to go to court.
Well, the Big Five want security of tenure. They want a strategic partner. A strategic partner who they will like to have a hand in selecting. They want to learn how to work the land. They want to learn how to become farmers. They want to do everything that can reasonably be anticipated or expected from a beneficiary to do on the farm. They want to make a living from the farm. And they want to enter into a profit sharing initiative, or an initiative in terms of which not only they but the farm workers and the strategic partner benefits from the land reform and recapitalisation process.
In a sense, Nirvana has become a test case for agrarian land reform because the alleged corruption on this farm is echoed in hundreds of state-owned farms throughout South Africa.
Honorable Minister, there's a lot of outcry about the alleged corruption in the department, especially in the restitution and plus farms. People who want farms for listing and are unable to access them. Some of the officials want bribe, others allocate farms to friends and relatives. Let the audit be done on the plus farms to understand who is occupying the farm, where and how that person has accessed the farm. Is there any lease agreement that has been signed and how much is being paid for lease rentals?
In the last year alone, the Special Investigation Unit has been probing corruption on state-owned farms to the tune of R500 million. But this represents just the surface of the cesspool.
There's been an absolute failure on certain farms which are subject to the land reform process to put certain and adequate strategies in place, to put properly qualified strategic partners on the farm, to ensure that the farms are running optimally, to ensure that the farms are profitable, to ensure that there's proper skills transfer between the strategic partner and the beneficiaries.
In the first episode of this investigation, broadcast in October 2015, Safe Bono and the Department of Rural Development denied the allegations, but they have since ignored our repeated requests for interviews.
As governance has slipped, and there's a lack of proper oversight, so you create the fertile ground for corruption.
When one thinks of elite capture, the Gupta family immediately springs to mind, accused of turning South Africa into their personal ATM through the control of various state-owned entities. Even farming has been turned into a Gupta cash cow.
Opposition parties allege that the Free State provincial government acquired the farm in 2012 and brought in a Gupta-linked Indian company called Estina as implementing agents, and then proceeded to pay the company 184 million rand.
But the Guptas are not the only culprits allegedly looting our resources. Professor Ben Cousins chairs the Institute for Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies, or PLAS, at the University of the Western Cape. PLAS has published widely respected research on alleged capture of land reform.
I think there are instances where the state program has been captured by powerful private interests, not with the willing collusion of government, but simply through incompetence. There are other cases, however, where collusion with corrupt government officials is likely to have been the case.
After our previous episode on alleged elite capture of agrarian land reform that was broadcast in June 2017, Special Assignment was inundated with information alleging irregularities on state-owned farms throughout South Africa. While most of the information we received has come from legitimate sources, we have also had to deal with opportunists trying to cash in on the controversy. For example, one so-called informant offered us dozens of classified forensic audits, but at a price. So what exactly is your stake in this?
My stake in it is I ask for 50K. That's it. And you will get all the documents.
50,000 rand. However, we have received credible and extremely relevant information from beneficiaries of land reform, such as farming cooperatives, small-scale farmers and labourers, as well as from current and former officials in the department, eager to expose the alleged corruption. And it was not only Safe and Bono that have been accused of looting the fruits of agricultural land reform. Most of our sources spoke off the record for fear of victimization, and we have protected the identity of this former official and have used a voice-over artist.
Agricultural land reform is supposed to benefit the poor, but this is not happening. Hundreds of millions will go to a tea farm, but there's no tea being cultivated there. Tens of millions will be paid for an abattoir that stands empty or a dairy farm where there are no cows. The money never reaches the intended beneficiaries, which are emerging farmers. Instead, it lands up in the pockets of politicians or politically connected businessmen.
But Safe and Bono are accused of being major participants in the alleged elite capture. Research conducted in the Eastern Cape by the Institute of Poverty, Land and Agrarian Research, or PLAS, found that on several farms on which the Dutch multinational and its BEE company have a presence, they control the entire supply chain, from farming the fruit to packing, marketing and exporting it.
The research by Ruth Hall in Timbela Cape and the Eastern Cape reveals that in the Sunday River Valley, where there's a lot of citrus production, BONSAF are operating at least 2 farms. They are the key beneficiaries of the recapitalization and state leasehold policy. The farm workers on the farms are not the beneficiaries. In fact, they're as insecure as they ever were.
One of these farms, Kangala, has been mired in controversy. The farm workers own 49% of the farm, while the state owns 51%. Together with SABC cameraman Sam and Msibi, Special Assignment flew to the Eastern Cape. We travelled to the Addo area in the Sunday River Valley, the largest citrus exporting region in the province. Our plan was to visit Kangala and Sunland, another state-owned farm operated by the multinational and its empowerment company. Since Safe and Bono had taken over operations, the beneficiaries had complained of being denied dividends from the export of the harvest and of dire working and living conditions. They also alleged that they are being treated not as beneficiaries but as cheap labour.
Apa into ndifuna izitshintshe ndifuna kutshintshe ndibonakala bayi-beneficiary mos kuthiwa ndiyi-owner. I-owner kaloku iba nento ezifumanayo kona ndiyifumanayo apha njenge-owner.
For years, their complaints were ignored, but in 2012, a government delegation had visited the farm.
I managed to get the Portfolio Committee of Agriculture, or Rural Development and Agrarian Reform as it's now called, which is quite ironic because there's no rural development and agrarian reform on this project. We went to go and visit this place for ourselves.
So what was your reaction when you got there?
Well, disbelief, incredulity, how much money has been spent, how a lot of the infrastructure and equipment has been missing, has been sold by Mr. De Vries and Safe.
But before visiting Kangala, we wanted to learn about other partnerships on state-owned farms between the beneficiaries of agricultural land reform and strategic partners other than Safe and Bono.
When we started in 2007, we did not pay out dividends to the beneficiaries. We keep the money aside, the profit that we have, we keep it aside till 2012. And then in 2012, there was a farm on sale. Then we bought that farm. That farm was 11 million.
The farm is called Siya Pambile, and it is owned by Sikule Sonke Enterprises, a company comprising 27 farm workers from 4 state-owned farms in Addo.
It was a virgin soil. There was nothing planted in that farm.
Siya Pambile means let's go forward. And it certainly seems to be living up to its logo. It appears to be a farm that practices stringent safety measures, has immaculately maintained farm equipment and machinery, not to mention irrigation systems which have created a thriving agricultural operation. It produces high-grade citrus harvests that are exported to Europe and Asian markets. So what advice can Sikule Sonke give to emerging farmers?
I think everything depends on the beneficiaries to choose the right strategic partner or to choose the right mentors.
Then it was time to visit Lutando in Kirkwood, also in the Sunday River Valley. This farm provides another example not only of farming and exporting success, but also of gender empowerment. Nokwanele Ivy Mzamo is the general manager of this 139-hectare citrus farm. Since 2009, she has won award after award.
I got the Top Entrepreneur Award and also the overall winner out of our district. And then I went provincial, where I also got the Top Entrepreneur in export markets. So that allowed me to went to national.
And you were national as well?
Yes, then I won national first prize in export, and I was also nominated as the overall winner.
Born in the Northern Cape, she has earned her stripes, first as a farm worker, then as a fruit packer and assistant manager, before her promotion to general manager in 2013.
As we were just workers, we didn't have much knowledge about farming or managing the farm.
And she has since benefited from skills development and management training provided by the Department of Agriculture, as well as by a Dutch supermarket called Skills for Africa and the Sunday River Citrus Company, or SRCC.
SRCC is a private company. They are owning 3 packhouses in the valley. And the packhouses are actually belongs to all the farmers, the producers of the Sundays River Valley. And it's where we are taking our fruit from the farm and where it's packed, and they are doing all the exporting for us.
But the fruit still belongs to the farm, and every process in the value chain, from planting to packing to export, is transparent.
Being transparent, you have the right to go to the packhouse, ask some questions about your fruit, knowing that certain varieties that are sent to certain markets, how much does those markets pay? That's what you get.
On Lutando, the farm conditions are exemplary and facilities include a creche and a clinic. But these success stories are more the exception than the rule. And as we were soon to discover, Kangala violates everything agricultural land reform should stand for. We are on our way to Kangala, a patchwork of 9 citrus farms in the Addo area, where Safe and Bono have been entrenched for over 10 years. We are unsure what to expect because the Dutch multinational and its BEE partner have ignored our requests for an interview. We had been contacted about the dire situation on the farm by an NGO called Kanyisa Education and Development Trust.
Workers there are housed on containers. They are overcrowded. In a container, probably 8 beds in a container, so you could see there's no privacy here. Beds on top of each other, and you could see these workers. They look much more ejected. You don't see any energy. That project has been captured.
We make contact with the beneficiaries who agreed to meet us at the farm. But the word had spread that we were in town, and CEO of Bono, Evans Nevondo, instructed the farm manager, Ricardo Stefano, to prevent us from entering the farm. One has to ask, what have they got to hide? The police happen to be on the farm as well, and the workers are told that just by standing with us outside the farm, they will be punished.
We have not allowed to talk to you. When we are talk to you, we are in big trouble. Just like you are your mother's baby. When your mothers come, I'm going to punish you. They control us like that.
The manager of the farm, Ricardo Stefano, says that we need the permission of the Kangala Empowerment Trust that oversees the farm. But the farm workers who have agreed to speak to us are part owners. Clearly, though, they have no say whatsoever. They subsequently told us they were docked a day's wage just for talking to us.
We are nothing here on the farm. We are not owners.
But despite the potential repercussions, the workers are determined to speak to us. So we have no choice but to interview them in the street.
Googling Queen was here, he was told us, the farm was told from 3 people.
Apha bazile sibeka le ngxaki yethu ityathina sonke ibhlungu sibeka kubantu sibekle nakunkwindi kukule nkwindi ingxaki yethu apha sayibeka nakubantu baka government aba bafika apha bathi nxa bathethayo bathi hayi lento sithetha kubo bazayilungisa emva koko ne2 years yegqitha sesibuphinda ubabona.
Government of the Eastern Cape owns 51% as a shareholder, 49% goes to beneficiaries. Now, that tells you that they are the majority. They're the one who call the shot. Now, what you don't understand is why they don't intervene on these matters. I mean, this is a government of the people.
They say that instead of experiencing an improved standard of living, they are far worse off than they were before they were given ownership. They accuse SAFE and Bono of looting profits, lining their pockets and neglecting the farm.
This company has been brought in to do the management of the enterprise. It can facilitate the exports, the management of the whole enterprise. And what seems to happen is that it's like they are sort of took over. There's supposed to be still issues of transparency with beneficiaries and their trustees, how we're doing and all those questions. But it doesn't seem to be that way.
We request an interview with the manager, who is one of the trustees. He declines. The history of Kangala represents some of the most bitter fruits of agricultural land reform. In 2003, the former owner of the farm, the late Norman Benjamin, sold it to the then Department of Agriculture as a worker empowerment deal. But the department paid almost double the farm's value for 49% share. And the former MEC of Agriculture, Max Mamasi, was charged with fraud.
Mamase and his wife had received a payment of 300,000 from Norman Benjamin to pay the bond on a house. And then there was a court case, and that carried on for more than 10 years. Mamase became ill. He couldn't continue with the prosecution because of his illness. But Norman Benjamin did a deal with the state where he bequeathed his 51% to the state.
Kangala remains one of the most shameful examples of wasteful expenditure, theft and fraud in the history of agricultural land reform, and the ongoing corruption needs to be thoroughly investigated.
Evans Nevondo, the CEO of Bono, has been involved with Kangala from the beginning. In fact, it was through Kangala that he secured a foothold in agricultural land reform, thereby sowing the seeds of SAFE and Bono's extensive involvement on state-owned farms. At the time, he was the farm manager on Kangala. He set up the Kangala Empowerment Trust that still runs the farm.
After Kangala, he joined the office of Balegambet. She was a speaker then, I think on the third parliament. She joined Balegambet as a senior researcher and advisor to Baleg. Then she got a connection from there.
SAFE, the multinational fruit exporter, has a holding company in Mauritius. In 2007, it formed Bono, of which it owns 50%. But in 2006, it already began operating on Kangala, managing and exporting the harvest. On the nearby Sunland farm, Bono is the strategic partner, and SAFE owns the pack house there. All of the Kangala produce is packed at Sunland.
The money is in processing and packaging, not in production. If beneficiaries are involved as co-owners of a citrus farm as a result of land reform, they're going to get low prices.
The farm workers on Kangala allege that they have no idea how much produce is harvested each year, how it is exported, and how much profit is made from the overseas sales.
The beneficiaries own everything, so everything that is produced on that property, with the exception of a management fee, should actually be accruing to them, but it's not.
But now, after years of controversy, SAFE is allegedly going to be exiting the farm at the end of October because the farm is unprofitable. Financial statements obtained by Special Assignment reveal that Kangala has been operating at a substantial loss for much of the past 11 years. This despite productive harvests and millions pumped into the farm by government.
We have done comparisons with other farms producing citrus, and after all the millions government has ploughed into the farm, there should be no reason why it cannot succeed.
So what will happen to the farm? Will it fall into further neglect? Like Nirvana in the Hext River Valley, where this ongoing investigation began.
Government has so far failed to re-advertise the strategic partner posts or invite potential farmers to occupy the farm in the capacity as a strategic partner. And the effect of this is that the farm is currently not running at its optimum capacity. There's a very good chance that the harvest for 2018 could face ruin.
If we had started with the right footing at the beginning and without the external and part of the internal ruptions and dirty interventions, we would have been a perfect farming community.